You're pushing us to the limit. And what do I mean by that? You're asking us to talk about history, the history of the South. This is in Georgia. What happened in Georgia? There were savages in Georgia. It was the ancestors of the white right-wingers. They were absolute savages. They murdered people, they lynched people, they raped people, they enslaved people. They took babies from their mothers and sold them as property. You want to talk about savages? Your ancestors were the biggest savages the world has ever seen. And so don't you dare call a black man a savage after you murdered him. Don't you dare do that. I'm so sick of African Americans being called violent when the world's worst violence was done to them, not by them, to them, not by them. For God's sake, you want to do racist stereotypes? If it fit anywhere, and it doesn't. But if it fit anywhere, it would certainly fit white right-wingers of the South, who has hundreds of years of history of being savages. Savages!
You don't get to enslave people, lynch people, beat people, rape people, eat people, segregate people, lock people out of resources, destabilize families, over-police communities, undereducate schools, poison neighborhoods, and then turn around and have the fucking audacity to say, why are they so angry? What the fuck do you mean, why are they so angry? That question alone is disrespectful as hell, because anger does not come out of nowhere. Intensity does not come out of nowhere. Pain does not come out of nowhere.
So this video, we're looking at the true history of black people, the history of the native indigenous people that the black community, has not even known. Some don't know, but some do know. And the white people are ashamed of it, and they're bringing it to light. We're going to share a couple of these videos for you to view, and at the end of the day, we'll come back to give you analysis. Quite interesting stuff right here. God bless.
How come, is there a reason they don't teach us that black people built the pyramids and we had mummies buried in gold? If I'm a savage looking for my next meal, looking for an animal to eat, I'm not worried about burying my ancestors in gold. That's something that only a high-class people got time to even do. We was not looking for our next animal to kill. We was not each other and being savages. We were intelligent, high vibrational gods.
From some of the best. They had some white boys came over here that did the first beheadings in Point Coupee, Louisiana, where I'm from. Slave insurrection, that was the way you dealt with it. Tuskegee syphilis incident. We're going to see how black men die if they have syphilis, but we pretend we treat them with penicillin, and we're just going to watch the pathology of how they die. Now, that wasn't back 200 years ago. That was 1930 to 1974. We're talking about giving these wonderful blankets to the Native Americans infected with smallpox as they walked on that trail of tears just to see how they die and to eliminate their population so we can take all of that land. So the violence that is in America has come from a very learned position that was brought here by some Caucasian folks. All right?
I've been hearing a lot about black fatigue recently, and I want to talk about it, but I can't do it here at home. We gotta go on a trip. So here we are. We are at Plaza Ferdinand VII, and that's a Confederate monument. And you wouldn't know it for looking at it. But this park you see behind me, 2 men were lynched here. Across the street, we have the Pensacola Museum of History. And there's a little sign right over there, remembering votes for women, that somebody spoke here. And despite how beautiful this park looks, calm and serene, 2 men hung from lampposts. Not these ones, because the lampposts have changed since their deaths. There are all kinds of signs and monuments at this park. We have the excavation of a British fort map of downtown Pensacola, statue dedicated to President Jackson, plaques commemorating a trail, big old cannons pointing to nothing, fun signs on the trash can to remind people to throw away their trash, dance moves, but absolutely nothing commemorating the deaths that happened here. Oh, but Ben, that happened so long ago. Tell that to this guy. His aunt, Lily Davis, was unalived by somebody. And the man that they captured, Leander Shaw, never saw his day in court. Why? Because he was dragged here to this park and hung from one of the lampposts. That woman's niece was also here. Even though this happened over 100 years ago, her niece and nephew were here protesting. What were they protesting? They were protesting that the Equal Justice Initiative was collecting soil from the location of every lynching in the United States, including here in Pensacola. The organizers of that event allowed them to put up a photo of Miss Davis and light a candle in her memory. But despite the fact that Leander Shaw never saw a day of court, they still think he was guilty. We have no idea if he did this or not. So all of you out there complaining about black fatigue, I'm tired of this kind of shit. I'm tired of white people complaining about things that happened in the past. I'm tired of white people blaming black people for things that they didn't do or preventing them getting a day in court. We see it today with Carmelo Anthony. He needs to get his day in court. So many white people, especially on this app, they just want to call him guilty and be done with it. Where just a few decades ago, they'd have had no problem collecting a posse so that afterwards they can celebrate. Whiskey for my men and beer for my horses. I really wish people who look like me could remember the words of a wise woman who once said, you should be happy that black people are looking for equality and not revenge. I hope you all have a good day.
America's first recipe was deep fried Native Americans. Yes, they used to cut Native Americans up into chunks and dip them in hot frying oil. That was the founding of this country. The entire town smelled like burning flesh. Yes, the real founding history of this country is, like I said, cannibalism. This is why they're trying to take this out of schools. They don't teach this in schools. And this is why you need to grab the book, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. They've been trying to ban this book for a reason, you guys. If you see the orange shopping cart down below, this book is still on sale and it's still available.
White people are the only group of people who will label you the aggressor because you refuse to let them disrespect you.
14 years. From 1863 to 1877, look at the progress that black people made attempting to be free, Blacks made great strides achieving political offices, developing private businesses, even setting up dozens of all-black towns. In fact, about it, we had built 60 towns. But white terrorists targeted them for destruction. As in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the first bombs that ever fell in America or on American soil fell on Black Wall Street. Y'all remember Black Wall Street in Tulsa?
But white culture is formed in savagery. I also said there isn't a place on God's green earth that they haven't come there and decimated the native inhabitants. There isn't a place. They are murderous savages. That's their culture. They call it conquest. We call it savagery. This is broad history. This is the history of white cultures. When they have the intention to invent a weapon, they don't just invent a weapon that can harm an enemy in one-to-one combat. No. They invent bombs that can decimate entire populations. They invent viruses, like smallpox, that they spread amongst unvaccinated Native Americans and then decimate their populations. And therefore the Americans, have got a native population which is less than the settler population in certain countries like Argentina. I mean, even a country like Brazil, yes, obviously there are still some native inhabitants there, but their population is less than those who were brought in from Africa as slaves, as well as those who came in as European settlers in the colonial times. So the culture of white people throughout white history, even to this very date, is that of savagery. It's that of inhumane behavior that is normalized to the point where they feel like they're entitled to behave like that.
Whites fear violence from us. We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing, that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
I can't tell. That sad side is the side that has not been documented or intentionally erased from the history books, blotting out what you may consider as the evils of the past. You're coming up now, you're talking about black fatigues. People talking about black people being violent, being harsh, being hostile. But what do you expect from a people who have been handed hostility from generation to generation? From grandparents to parents to offspring. The American society of today was built on the backbone of slavery, of dehumanization of the FBAs, the foundational black Americans. They paid the ultimate price on the grounds of what we call the land of the free, the bold, and the brave. And it was a costly price. They paid in blood, they paid in sweat, they paid being dehumanized. And even if many intentionally try to forget, history will not forgive us if we do not fail to immortalize the memory of these great men and women who have suffered. That is the black history that is not told. That is the black history that we have chosen to revisit today. To honor the memory of heroes past. To honor those who kept the lineage and the legacy continuing. We have what we have today because some people laid the foundation for what we call today. I want to end by saying in the famous statement of Martin Luther King that I had a dream. I have a dream that one day, sincerely, not in lip service, black folks will walk down the streets with white folks. There will be no segregation, there will be no racial profiling, there will be no racial profiling or classification. Our children will not be gunned down by the popo because of the color of their skin. We will not be determined or will not be classified by who we are, but in the content and the character of our person. You're coming across my YouTube channel, please do hit the subscription button, hit the notification button, so that when we bring new updates, you'll be the first to be notified. You're welcome to join this page. Please comment and share, and I want to know what your thoughts are in the comment section. See you on my next video.